I'm John Sicotte, executive editor of the Brewer Magazine, and welcome to another edition of the Brewer Magazine podcast. And a good one here because everyone in the beer industry has been to a beer festival, had to either run it, pour at one, or promote it. There's always some aspect to the word beer festival, but actually, if you think about it, there's a lot going on in beer festivals, and does it need to be more than just a beer festival nowadays? And with a beer festival that hasn't been around for a few years, we wanted to get the thoughts and leanings of how things are going for Ommegang. Well, Jordan Egbert, welcome to the Brewer Magazine podcast. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you. Happy to be here. I'm really excited for the conversation, so appreciate you.
Yeah, beer festival time is coming up for Brewery Ommegang, and the return of the Belgium Comes to Cooperstown. It's been a while, so reintroduce people to what it is and kind of how long it's been since we've seen a BCTC.
Yeah, so really the gap has been since 2018, and during that time, I'd say the number one Instagram comment or emails in our suggestion box that we'd get had the words or the letters BCTC in them. I mean, we would post a new release of, a IPA or whatever. And the first comment would be like, bring back BCTC. And so, we listen, but there's also some reality to, that type of task. So as a lot of people know or don't know, Belgium Comes to Cooperstown. That's our BCTC. Really iconic and bucket listy as far as beer festivals were going, especially during those mid 2000 years. We would sell those tickets out pretty fast and heavy on the industry. A lot of brewers, a lot of inner industry folks attending BCTC and really coming back with a lot of stories. And I think what worked so well with BCTC was that camaraderie, that element of bringing people together. And yes, we're the host, but this is ours, right? BCTC is for everybody. And so that was our attending brewers list to the things that we were doing while on campus during the festival. Really just a lot of folklore, a lot of legend, a lot of good stories came out of BCTC, and it was all about just the love of the game. So we're excited to have that.
What was the genesis of it? What kind of got things started, and how long? When did it start originally before it stopped in 2018?
The very first BCTC, it was before 2010. It kind of started very unofficially, right? So some people argue about when the first one was, but I think it was 2007, somewhere 2008. It really was a collection of brewers that wanted to come together for a bottle share and camping and a day in the sun, drinking and sharing new releases and some innovation and brewing practices. And it really was about the brewers. And when we're planning 2024's BCTC, we have to stop and remind ourselves what those early festivals were like. And it was a bunch of great people under a tent, sharing beer and talking about the industry. And again, with the camaraderie, probably a word I'll say a lot during the conversation. That's where it began, and it quickly became this. Let's do it again. Let's add a little more programming. Let's sell tickets. Let's get consumers involved. Let's get our distributors and retailers. And it grew, and it grew fast. And we were selling out BCTC the day that we would announce it many years throughout, 13, 14, 15. And it grew to a point where it remained BCTC, but it was a beast. It was a monster. And so I think in good planning, we said, let's let this puppy cool for a second. And we were going to bring it back. And of course, the pandemic came and visited all corners of our industry and market and beyond. And that gave us, another reason to really just stare down, like, what is the festival environment in today's world? Does it work? Are we just a festival? Aren't we so much more than that? What's going on? So we let it cool. And when I took on brand management last year, I said, crazy idea, but let's consider bringing it back, and let's do it the right way. Let's do it in a way that makes sense for us from marketability standpoint to bringing some success to our tap house business, because we're a rural brewery, as you know, and we wanted to build it small again, kind of with that that genesis that we spoke about. Let's get the right people there, and let's bring it back to its core, and then slowly consider building it back up to a smart level.
Yeah. And I went and found the Facebook event post, and just seeing the list. Obviously some ones that are local to you, some breweries a little outside of there, and obviously a lot of breweries that do have a Belgian, brewery connection. How, when does this all start? How long did it take you to start doing this? And, trying to cultivate a list like this, is it, you're putting a call out for everyone? You had a hit list and, started checking boxes off. How do you put together a beer festival with breweries when it is kind of a specific thing like this?
It's very intentional. It's very much it was the hit list, right? These are the brewers that we want. We're not just putting it out that anyone can sign up, or they can apply to sign up or reach out for questions. We had a list of 34 that we were like, all right, this is our list. This is who we want. This is the dream list. And from the 34 initial invitations that we sent out, 33 of them RSVP. Yes. So we were very excited. That was a really fast moving, thrilling part of the experience was, identifying who, right? Having a lot of conversations about who we want at the festival, but then, putting that out and seeing that response. And then of course, because we have to keep it at a level, we're getting a lot of inquiries of please, can we please pour beer at your festival? And we're having to politely say, oh gosh, I wish we could make this work. We're full, but there's other opportunities. So we're offering some discounts to brewers that they can come on Friday night during the VIP component. We're having a rare beer share. We're inviting those breweries to come pop a couple, vintage bottles or whatever to share with the audience. And then, they're going to be on our list for the next year, and hope to get them back. But yeah, the list is great. We're really proud of it, and we're happy with every member of it.
Yeah. And, and kind of the thing that interested me is the fact that nowadays beer festivals have become something a little different, or almost needs to be something a little different when it comes to grabbing a consumer's attention. I think, beer festivals in, like you said, the mid 2000s, early aughts, was very much, you could, open up a campground area, or even just out around, some city block, and be able to put a bunch of beer out, and you would have people. Either it's been aged out because people are like, well, I've been there, done that, and I'm a little older and I don't want to do that, or a younger crowd that hasn't done it and it's not as exciting, because as we've probably seen, I'm sure you agree that experiences have become more of the standard, and having to bring a draw to a younger audience. What's the differences that you guys learned from, okay, well, the last time in 2018 we did it this way? You can't just say we're going to do the exact same thing in 2024 and bring the same thing. What were the changes on that?
Yeah, so one thing that struck me, that the word novelty, right? You think back to the mid 2000s, beer fests were really at their height, probably, and even today they're everywhere. You don't have to go far to get a beer festival. There's probably one every weekend, all spring and summer, and even fall and into the winter, right? You can find a beer festival. Not to say that BCTC was one of the few, but it was one that set itself apart, much like a Great American Beer Festival or something like that. There was more to offer than just going to get as many samples of beer that you could get your hands on in a 2-3 hour period. So what BCTC did right the first time, and what we are kind of repeating, is that activation level of it. There's other things to do, but more this year, we're tying that into the lifestyle of these brands that are there, right? So we have to remind ourselves that it's Belgium Comes to Cooperstown, and that was, I think, the biggest piece of novelty for the festival. There's a huge Belgian beer fan base in America, and it's growing. And Brewery Ommegang, how do we authenticate ourselves as a Belgian style brewer? You really showcase the right brands and education and immersion, and get people really understanding what it is about Belgian beer that people just fall in love with. And so that's what we aim to do. And we want our consumers to obviously come and drink great beer and meet some wonderful people, but we want them to have some fun. You know, there's some axe throwing, there's yoga, there's, you know, t-shirt printing and maybe some tie-dyeing. We've got fire spinning and cigar rolling. There's all these things that you're going to be able to do, but a lot of it is, you know, these brands and just the idea of the craft and Belgian beer universe is, you know, bleeding through each step of this.
Sure. And also the whole fact that you guys are having, like you said, a curated list. This isn't, you know, have you been working with the breweries on, you know, this is what you're bringing? Or they understand the concept and are, you know, offering up things? How does that interplay work when it comes to, you know, making sure that you don't have the same, you know, types of beer at every single type of beer vendor that's there?
Yeah. So again, you know, hand selected. When you look at that beer list, or the brewer list that's coming, you know, we had to all agree, and a small group of us that plan this aspect had to, you know, built with people like myself as well as our brewers as a part of the process. Do we have a relationship with them? Have we collaborated with them? Do we plan to collaborate with them? Have we shared some services? Have we gone hop shopping with them? You know, whatever it is, we have a relationship. That's core and that's important. And if we have a good relationship with this brewer, you know, is their beer fantastic? It's got to be fantastic. It's got to be awesome beer. So that is kind of what builds a list. In that, you then expect brewers to just, you know, wow you when you get there, right? We're offering them the opportunity and pushing them a little bit to bring something with some Belgian flair. But at the same time, this is their moment. So if there's an IPA or a lager or, you know, something that they're very excited to show off, we want them to, you know, go for it. Be confident. This is your craft, and we want to explore it.
Nice. Well, let's get into the logistics of putting something on. And obviously, you weren't there. Were you? Yeah, you were there the last time that you guys had one, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I had a Brewery Ommegang hat on. I sold the beer, but I was there to just enjoy it as a consumer. I got to go, and it was incredible. That was the year that Puddles the Clown took the main stage. I don't know if you were there, but it was weird and epic and everything all at once, for sure.
Well, when it comes to, you know, getting things together, I mean, I'm sure you guys have other beer festivals that you put on, but this is obviously a much different aspect when it comes to all hands on deck, manpower, thinking ahead. Like you said, you know, you guys have been working on this for a while. You know, how do you know, what are kind of the key aspects, and when it comes to meetings, and, you know, who's all going to be there, and how do you determine, you know, what Brewery Ommegang has to do to be able to put this festival on?
Yeah, so we, as the host, right, we take on the infrastructure and all the tasking and logistics that come with it. Big part of my job is the creative element, and, you know, how to market it, how to make it shine. What are the talking points? What are the sticky things that people are going to hold on to that drive them there? Now, I then have to run that through the tests of our operations and, you know, our infrastructure and our grounds folks and marketing team, and just see, you know, what is actually going to work, and if it's feasible from a logistics standpoint to, you know, profitability. We don't want to throw, you know, too much at it. We don't need to go spend, you know, tens of thousands of dollars on one element just because it's cool. We got to make sure that it's going to work, right? We got to keep it safe. And a lot of that is rolling your sleeves up and saying, "Oh, you know, I'll build that activation piece myself. We'll get the Sawzall out and go to Home Depot and all that." But we've got a small huddle of people that, you know, started the main pieces of building this, and then you have to incorporate some really important voices from our brewery and from our past that have been to, you know, a dozen of these festivals. And I'm looking for those points of, what stuck out, what was the thing that you remember, what was the best part of it. And, you know, getting those emails from the folks at the tap house, hey, you know, in 2016 they did tie-dye and that was really awesome, and then, you know, whatever, those great ideas I have to listen to and then bring them to the table. We meet at this point at least twice a week, and we run through everything, and we're building that timeline minute by minute, from loading in to checking out and waving goodbye. Every little piece of this, from the stage that our music will be on to the, you know, the beer itself, the food, every element of it, we have a timestamp for, and we've got status and provider, contact, owner, and any pertinent notes. We've got creative work that's being developed by our design team, everything from signage to landings, and beyond. So it's a ton of moving parts. We have a couple shared documents that we can all get in, so we can see the parts move as they go. I would recommend doing a Google Drive or something if you're putting on a festival, and I'm sure people do. But yeah, it's been a lot. I'll be honest, but we care about it, and every one of those conversations, there's this tone of excitement and a real responsibility. This is our baby, and you get one chance to bring something like this back, and that's our plan, is to bring it back and let it continue to a new year 2, a new year 3, and beyond.
Yeah, because you really, I mean, you get, with it being gone, for the 6 years, you are kind of reintroducing it to a whole new crowd of people that might not know anything about it. And I guess that brings up, and we kind of touched on it a little bit when we started, but just how are beer fests viewed nowadays? And how do you, to that general public, and then even in the industry, I think sometimes you bring up beer festivals. I know I asked a few questions, I think, on a forum about beer festivals, and the amount of vitriol that was thrown at different aspects that I didn't even bring up shows that I think industry-wise, sometimes it leaves a bad taste in the mouth, whether it's, obviously you guys are putting your own on. So I think sometimes brewery run ones are probably a lot different than something put on by outside. Have you seen those pieces and talked to people like, we want to make this a thing that people actually want to be at on the beer side? Is that kind of a big part of it?
Huge part. Again, that is really, if we were to pick a few key elements right there at the top, and the first few bullet points would be to really be an impactful and great host to our brewers. And I'm not just saying that is what made this festival what it is today and what it still can be. But yeah, I mean, in this industry for over a decade now in total, I have served beer at, I don't even know how many, hundreds maybe of beer festivals at this point. And the ones that you love going to, and the ones that you're like, oh my gosh, I gave my Saturday up for this 2 sessions, and people are just throwing cups in my face. And where can I get a glass of water, please? I'm starving. I see food trucks over there, right? So for us, we want to really build that up. And then when that 4-hour window on Saturday happens, where it's time to share this beer with the masses, that's everyone's time to be as proud as they can be to be there. So Friday night, that VIP really exists because of our brewers. I mean, there's an opportunity to get consumers to a VIP Friday experience because the right consumers want to hang out with brewers, right? And they want to be a part of that industry and those conversations. So Friday night, there's a hog roast, like farm to table style meal. We're going to feed folks. There will be live music, a giant bonfire, that rare beer moment where the brewers are sharing with each other, as well as the VIP folks on Friday, those consumers. Everyone's going to have full bellies and full hearts. And then Saturday, we get to work. And, after the beer festival on Saturday, 6 p.m., it's time to listen to some music and really get back to hanging out. I feel like at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. on Saturday, that's where a lot of us are going to look at each other and say, all right, we did it. The rest is we're going to jam to some music. There's a silent disco later. There's food trucks rolling. There's more beer for sale. Let's hang out and let's pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah. And I kind of started asking about it, and then we started talking about industry stuff. But, what is the general consumer thought process on a beer festival, and how do you break let's use the word stigma for lack of a better term, of what a beer festival people might think of it as? Because this is not a typical beer festival.
Right. This is it's a multi-day, 2-night event if you want it to be. Yeah. We have camping on site, which is really incredible. I'm sure there's plenty of other festivals that offer the chance to pitch a tent. But speaking, for us, I mean, you're on a 250-acre hop farm, and the Brewery Ommegang. It's just such a beautiful place to camp, right? So I think that sets us apart a little bit. There's less pressure to, get in and get out and find your value of your ticket. You kind of get to live with us for a day. But yeah, I'm with you. There's so many beer festivals people can just kind of walk to and maybe make that impulse decision that that's what they're going to do for that day. But this is very choice and plan driven, and we saw that in ticket sales. We had talked about how early in the festival's history it sold out very quick, and it's been a slower crawl, but we have momentum. But I think that's the consumer talking. I think people have more options than they've ever had. Not just beer festivals. There are more events in America than there's ever been across all channels and all industries. There's always something fun to do, and that's great. So you have to really get their attention to say, I'm gonna choose this. This is our weekend. This is what we're doing. We're gonna drive a couple hours, or maybe even get on a plane and go see this thing. So I think the consumer is talking. As we get closer, you're seeing the ticket sales rise. We're seeing people, they've saved that calendar spot, and they're committing towards it.
Yeah. And you know, obviously on your end and just promoting it, I mean, what have been the big things for you guys in promotion? Has it been having the website up? Is it the social media channels? How are you creating content to invigorate people to want to save that date?
Yeah, it's been such a puzzle, because you like to think just putting out the "it's back," right? Would do a lot of the work, and it's not that I had different expectations. You just have to. It's a moving target. You're like, all right, this is going to do some work. But if it doesn't, we need to make sure that we have a good plan to tell this story correctly. And that's what we want. We want to talk about it. We want to have conversations, like this, and we want to have other brewers chatting about BCTC and what it means to them, and getting some of their fans to come join them. So it started with the big "It's Back" post, and that was one of our most highly engaged posts in brewery history. A lot of talking points, a lot of conversation. A lot of, remember that one time type of comments, and, best festival ever. Like, the comments are great. They'll fill your heart. And from there, you then have to say, all right, it's back, but what does that mean? Let's give people some stickier points. So soon after that initial launch of the return, we put out the beer attending brewers list. And that really kind of solidified some excitement for a lot of folks, which tells me that, yes, this is a great weekend full of fun and beer, but the beer part's really important, and people care about that list. And they're even throwing suggestions like, why not, Fidens? And we were like, yeah, why not Fidens? They're amazing. So now Fidens is coming, right? So we read the comments, and we pick it apart and say, like, this is our audience. We need to listen to them, and we need to talk to our brewers. They're our audience. We need to listen to them. We got to build this thing and communicate it correctly. So now, it'll be food trucks and live music and all the activation and activity and things that you can do. Those will be the next sticking points that we put out. We've got newsletters that go out to folks, Facebook, Instagram. We've done some paid media, which was really well engaged. And yeah, we've got radio, local, and our sales team is out talking about it, incentivizing their distributors to meet some goals to win some tickets. Or just thanking them for the baller year that we've had, and getting them some VIP tickets for the weekend. So it's 360 every angle.
I know exactly.
Pretty old school. We were stuffing flyers under windshield wipers a couple weeks ago.
Guerrilla tactics. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I know. I run a small beer festival here in the Toledo area, and that has been the almost every meeting. And it's an older group of people. That's run through an ethnic club here in the Toledo area, and we've watched our numbers kind of up and down over the years. Obviously, the peak for us was 2019. We didn't have another festival until we usually were Father's Day weekend. It was the end of 21, so it was almost like a Oktoberfest, and then had to turn around in 22 and start. And we've never seen the numbers come back up. Do you guys have a plan for that? I mean, like, because obviously you guys, I see you already sold VIP out. That's obviously that gives you a good indicator. But when you do, like you said, you still have many weeks to go, obviously, before this. But like, do you think the surge will happen at the end? And or is there any talk of, do we have to cut back? Do we have to do this? Because that's always a conversation that we have into a beer festival.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're not having those conversations, then it's just, I think, poor planning, and you got to operate in a way that you can't just hope something works out, right? You have to force it a little bit. You got to push it a little bit. We're lucky in that there's equity in the name BCTC, and people are really interested in it. And so we're watching the surge happen. Every time we say something or poke it a little bit, you see some numbers. But we built it with that in mind. We didn't want to exceed too many tickets. We wanted to keep this small. I think that when we throw this off and it's as successful as we plan it to be, it's my hope that 2, 3, 4 years from now, people say, 2024, that was incredible because it felt more intimate, right? And then we'd listen to that and be like, all right, well, maybe that is our sweet spot. We need to not try to just blow this out of the water and create a Woodstock event. We just want to get the right people there and really go deep and not wide with that consumer and brewer base. I think those are our shared goals, and just being smart about it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, you guys are, obviously with some background in it. This isn't a brand new thing that you're like, we hope this is great. This can be great. So I think that, things are going to look good for you guys. And, I appreciate you talking about it and kind of sharing with the industry, the ins and outs. And maybe we'll see some great beer festivals in 2025 along with BCTC part whatever. I would say part 2, but the was part 2.
Yeah, it's funny you said it, because we always themed it, right? There were multiple years with themes, and I think now the theme is it's Belgium Comes to Cooperstown. We don't need to do a Seinfeld theme or the Big Top Circus theme. That's fun, and I think that BCTC of the past really supported that. But now it's about just being authentic to what's the drive to do this, and it is about sharing the love of the game and getting the right people there, the right consumers and brewers. So all of the information and ticketing is on our website, and there's a link that'll take you right to ticketing. VIP is sold out, but there's GA and GA with camping still available. We're going to be doing some giveaways, some other ways that we can kind of prize this out to some folks. And John, I don't know, I haven't asked yet. Are you coming? You need a ride?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we're not too far apart from each other, so I don't have to drive too far. I'll jump in your car. How's that?
That's right. I'd love to see you there. So you let me know if I can help make that happen. And I really appreciate just being on here talking about the festival. So.
Well, best of luck to it, and hopefully things go off without a hitch.
Yes. Thank you. I hope to see you all there. Come find me.
Don't forget, you can always check on brewermag.com. You can also see us on YouTube and listen to us on Spotify. And don't forget daily updates on Facebook, Instagram, and X. I'm Executive Editor John Sicotte for brewermagazine.com.